Welcome to I May Be Wrong.
I don't know what this world is coming to.
But I don't think so. We're broadcasting from the greater Nashville area, the home of country music, beyond the borders of political correctness and identity politics. Facts and faith are our demarcations. Truth lights our path.
Here's the Barry White of Podcast Radio,
the Venerable Alfonso Ashworth.
Well, welcome to another exciting episode of I May Be Wrong, but I don't think so. Of course, technology has its way about doing whatever it wants to do. It's just the way the world we're living in today. It is the world we're living in, and it's the world we have to learn to deal with. Of course, we're going to be talking about God. God's got this. You know, all the stuff that you're hearing, all the nonsense, everything that's going on in social media, everything that's happening out there in the world that we're living in, God has got this. I don't care what the polls are saying. I don't really care what Joe Biden is saying. I don't care what the media institutions are saying. God's got this. And, of course, I want you to join in. If you're seeing this on Facebook Live at the moment, on YouTube, you can chat with me. Just make your post. Right now, I'm not seeing it on Facebook Live. They may be blocking me today. I have no idea. It just takes its course. It makes its mind up. They decide what you get to see. Mark Zuckerberg has decided that if you are not in line with what he wants and how he wants to say it, you won't be able to broadcast. And at the moment, I'm not seeing my show broadcasting on Facebook Live. If you see it, please let me know that you see the show being aired, and we will try to get you into this. I think they're blocking my show today. I really do. This may have to be played in another time slot because I'm not seeing it at all on Facebook. And I'm not surprised. But if you do see the show, please let me see or let me know that you see me being broadcast on Facebook Live. I know it's being broadcast right now on YouTube. You can go there, or you can go to my webpage. You can go to ImayBeWrong.com, and you can find us there as well. It is being played there at the moment. So you can see what's happening. You can see exactly what is happening in social media. Because I'm saying God's got this. They have blocked this episode because I'm saying God's got this. I am not going to be convinced anyhow, that this is not being done on purpose, by design, and this is what's going on. I'm going to play something very quickly, then we're going to get to talking about the silver lining and all of this. Right now, you're hearing all this nonsense out there. And look, they have decided, I'm telling you, the show is not being aired at the moment on Facebook. It's just not being aired. It's not being played. If someone sees it, if you don't see it, let me know. Some of you out there are some of my regular listeners. Y'all know what's going on, and y'all hip to all of this and some of this nonsense that we're getting. And apparently it's been decided by organizations like Facebook that my broadcast is not worthy for you to see today. But let's hear, and I'll re-air it, I'll replay it. But let's hear something. I want to share something with you that I think everyone should hear.
If I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree, thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions, just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
Exactly. That is so poignant today. And it's so disturbing that Facebook and groups and organizations like Facebook are controlling the narrative. They're controlling what you're hearing. They're controlling what you can see. And it's obvious that they're making a gallant effort to block everything that they don't agree with. Mark Zuckerberg went on a show and said that he and his company would be controlling what could be seen during this campaign, during this year of this election. They've decided what you should be able to see. They've decided what you should be able to hear. But I'm telling you, God's got this. No matter what they say, no matter what the polls say. Look, there's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of information out there that's not being shared. There's a lot going on that you and I need to be aware of. I'm going to play some video clips, and we'll come back and talk about this right after these video clips. Look what's happening in the streets. This is happening just overnight.
We're shutting the party down. Nobody's going to touch you. We're shutting your party down. Calm down. Calm down.
Look at This is insane. course, this was at a restaurant in a city, Rochester, New York. The people were trying to eat their meals. They were trying to have a night out, peaceful night out with their families, with their friends, and Black Lives Matter, or someone representing Black Lives Matter. This is another thing that's very confusing at the moment. We really don't know who they are. We don't know who and what they represent. But they have come out and now they're disrupting you while you eat your meal. While you try to go to your service, your worship services, they're blocking the streets. They're threatening to burn down neighborhoods. So where are we? As Christians, what are you going to do to stand up against this nonsense where they're blocking what the message that we're trying to get out? They're blocking. They will not allow certain individuals to even advertise on these platforms anymore. I get rejected more often than not when I try to advertise. And do you think this just started yesterday? Do you think it just started recently? Do you think this is something that hadn't been going on for some time now? So here we are again. But think about it. This didn't start yet this election cycle. This didn't just start with this election cycle. This has been going on for some time. Listen to what Ronald Reagan had to say about it.
Truth of the matter is, this has to stop, and it has to stop like the day before yesterday. And it's going to be stopped, whatever it takes.
I was picked a few days ago in California by some youngsters that had signs that said, "Make love, not war." Trouble is, they didn't look like they were capable of doing either.
You know, Ronald Reagan said it. Perfect. Let's see what he had to say. Let's see what he had to say again. One more time. Let's play it one more time.
A public institution.
That's right.
Institution
but the university,
for all of its own community and for the community of Berkeley that live around it.
All of it began the first time some of you who know better and are old enough to know better let young people think that they had the right to choose the laws they would obey as long as they were doing it in the name of social protest.
I'm sick and tired of the argument about whether some effort to enforce law and order is going to escalate anything at all. Plain truth of the matter is, this has to stop, and it has to stop like the day before yesterday. And it's going to be stopped, whatever it takes.
I was picked a few days ago in California by some youngsters that had signs that said, "Make love, not war." Trouble is, they didn't look like they were capable of doing either.
Well, there you have it. Ronald Reagan said it. And it's obvious that we living in some perilous times, folks. As I said earlier, and I'm going to keep repeating this, my broadcast is being blocked today by Facebook. They didn't give me any reason as to why it's being blocked, but I can tell you that it's because of the show content. This is about God. This is about your belief. This is about your faith. This is about what's going on in this country every night, the streets, the violence, what's going on in our cities, the companies that are being threatened. You know what? Black Lives Matter is just not the only problem that we're having. Christians are unwilling to stand up in this time. How do you think you're going to stand on Judgment Day? How do you think you're going to stand before the throne of God when you can't even stand during times of tribulation? How do you think Christians are going to be able to stand when they're running away from this fight? Because you're being called a name, because someone has labeled you as someone that hates, or that someone that is homophobic, or someone that is racist, or someone that is xenophobe. That's the game of the devil, to deceive you, to trick you, to lie to you. This show will go forth. I will continue broadcasting, and I will continue to keep posting this everywhere that I possibly can. Why? Because it's being recorded. I always record my shows, just in case Facebook decides that this show cannot be live broadcast. And that's where we are. That's what's going on right now. Look, I played for you the clip showing the violence. I have played for you the clips that show that individuals are out here attacking other individuals for what they believe in. And this right here is a good example of what you're going to be up against if President Trump is not reelected. And I'm not telling you, I'm not trying to frighten you. The evidence is right in front of you. The silver lining is to be obedient to God's word. You have to stand up and fight back during these times. That's the only way we're going to be able to be victorious. It's the only way we're going to have victory is to be able to fight back. And unfortunately, many Americans and many so-called Christians are not fighting back. Look, you know, when the children of Israel were enslaved, they were enslaved because of their disobedience. They were handed to their enemy. God handed them to the enemy. So what do you think is going on right now? Our institutions of higher learning have been taken over by the communists, the Marxists, the socialists. You don't see them attacking those institutions. You don't see Antifa and Black Lives Matter and these other affiliated organizations. You don't see them attacking these liberal colleges and universities. Why? Because that's the breeding ground. This is where they've been inculcated. This is where they have been indoctrinated with this nonsense. The message is clear. Is President Trump a perfect person? No. But who is? Look what alternative you have on the other side. Let's take a clear look at this with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who, by the way, has flip-flopped on her issues. Joe Biden has lied. He's plagiarized. He's made things up out of whole cloth. Some things he don't even remember. Sometimes he barely remembers where he is. So do you really think he's going to be in control if he's given the reins of the White House? Absolutely not. The people that's going to be running the show are those in the clubhouse with Bernie Sanders, Nancy Pelosi, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and many others, probably people in China that you've never heard of, that's going to be running the White House. Because they're already controlling your media, they're already controlling sports, they're already controlling your school and education. Now they're wanting to teach something called the 1619 Project that had nothing to do with America. It had nothing to do with the Founding Fathers. It had nothing to do with the Constitution of the United States. And now they're teaching your children that somehow that all people in the United States, especially those that are white, are inherently racist. The black people that have fallen for this, they are ignorant. They're blind with their hatred of one person, President Donald Trump. Now they're marching in the streets, interrupting people while they eat their meals, bothering them while they're trying to be somewhere with their families. Riding through a neighborhood, they're accosting people, stopping them, threatening them, demanding that they give their property over to them, these individuals, their homes, their bank accounts. Do you think this is all by accident? No, it's by design. It's all evil. It's all satanic. Black Lives Matter leaders themselves said they were trained Marxists. If you know anything about Marxism, they are anti-God. They are atheists. This is why they're marching in the street, cursing Jesus, burning the churches, threatening the Christians. What are you doing as a Christian? You're fading away. You're hiding in a corner. You're hiding behind someone else. You're waiting for the government to come in and save you somehow. How's the government going to save you? The government couldn't stop Jesus Christ from going to the cross. He told the leaders, the head of the Sanhedrin, y'all have no power. The only power you have is what my Father in heaven has bestowed upon you. And you sitting here as a Christian trying to worship something, you have no idea what you're worshiping. Babies are being aborted daily, given lethal injections daily. But laws have been put in place to protect the pedophiles and to protect the rapists from being lethally injected. Now you having individuals who are attacking police officers, getting all their claim to fame. Now you have this so-called hero that they want to call him, this Jacob Blakes Jr., who was shot because he disobeyed the police officers and tried to go back to his automobile to get who knows what. Now he's being interviewed by people like Kamala Harris, who has no idea that what she's about to do is bring war to this country in some way or some fashion. Because good American people are not going to continue to sit back and watch this nonsense. As I said earlier, and I'll say it again, Facebook has decided that my show cannot be broadcast live. So you will have this show, if you see it, you'll be seeing it in replay. Because live reaches a lot more audiences. It reaches out further. And you can then interact with your audience. And that's what they want to break. They want to break that line of communication. They want to break it down so that you and I cannot communicate and the truth cannot go forth. But I'm here to tell you, God's got this. God is in control. God is going to put President Trump back in that White House. Because why? Because he brought God back to the White House. He's put down these institutions that are trying to control your children. He's fighting for you. He's fighting for freedom. He's ending wars. I just heard that he was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. I hope he refuses to go and accept it. It's a farce. Yes, he should have been nominated. Look, they nominated Barack Obama before he ever took office. And he started 2 wars. Violence was in the street under his administration. If you hadn't forgot it, in Baltimore with Freddie Gray, in St. Louis with Michael Brown. All that, hands up, don't shoot. How soon people forget that it was Barack Obama who started this nonsense about attacking the police. It all started with a college professor in Harvard or up on one of those Ivy League schools that claimed he was harassed by a police officer because he was questioned about going into his own home because the police officer asked him for his ID. That was turned into a racial event, and President Obama took it a step further and started this nonsense about the police brutality. Now he's behind the scene and he's pulling these strings and people are falling for it, especially those who hate President Trump and they have Trump derangement syndrome. Of course, this show goes out. You can find me at I May Be Wrong, but I don't think so. They can't block me there. They can't block me at I May Be Wrong, but I don't think so. That is my own website. And you can go there. You can support me there. You can support me by getting some of my merchandise there. You can actually become a subscriber. You can also donate to the show if you want to. But one way or the other, the message is going to go forth because we will not be deterred. We will not be told to sit down. We will not be silent. And if it comes to what Thomas Paine wrote in his book, Common Sense, he said, these are the times that try men's souls. The sunshine patriot, those who only want to come out and fight when the weather is nice, I see people marching in the street, but they only come out when things look nice, when they can go out and party. But the minute that troubles come, they run and shy away. And what bothers me is when they contact me and they say, well, what are we going to do? What do you mean, what are you going to do? You either going to fight or you're going to flee. And unfortunately, many of you are fleeing, not because you have some noble cause that you are doing. It's because you're afraid to fight for righteousness. You are afraid to stand up for what God had ordained you to do. And now you sitting here like a coward, hiding because somebody called you a name, because you're afraid that your boss is going to get upset with you. What are you going to do? How are you going to explain that when God asks you, where were you? What are you going to do? Say, I was afraid of my boss? I was afraid of my neighbor? The silver lining, folks, is God's got this. Of course, the confusion out there, the negative reporting, the just all-out propaganda lies that the media, even someone in a magazine claimed that President Trump made fun of veterans and said that they were losers and that they were chumps, so to speak. President Trump has been one of the biggest advocates for our veterans in the history that I can remember, and I can go way back. I can remember Carter. I can remember Reagan. So now they're saying that Trump said our veterans were losers. Trump never said no such thing. There is no one that has any evidence whatsoever that anonymous people have come forward anonymous. Cowards need to come out of their closets. If you got something to say, you should be able to come forward and say it to the American people and stand by what you say. These news reporters, these propagandists, they are trying to bring down a president in any way that they can, but I'm telling you, God's got this. Of course, there's a lot to be said about what's going to happen in November. The only thing that you can do is go and vote. Yes, there are going to be people that's going to try to vote more than once. Yes, the Democrats are going to try to steal this election through whatever means that they can. But the only thing you can do, my friend, my fellow Americans, my fellow Christians, is to go and vote. We have to vote in large numbers, because I'm telling you for a fact the Democrats are going to try to do whatever they can to topple the White House. And they don't care who's going to run it after the fact and what's going to happen to this country when Americans believe that the election was stolen. They have no idea what that's going to do to this country. And in some places, in some corridors, they're hoping that happens, and they hope that we somehow wind up in a civil war. So the real enemy, Satan, can come in and destroy what's left of the church, destroy what's left of family, and to send this country into eternal darkness. And that is no joke. Of course, I want to thank everyone that has and will get to see this show at some point. Like I said, the show is being recorded, so we will post it on Facebook. It didn't get on there live, but they can't stop me from doing it some other way. So I want to say God bless you, God bless America, and peace.
You've been listening to Alfonso Ashworth, the Barry White of Podcast Radio. Go forth and share his message. I may be wrong, but I don't think so. Remember, no two people can ever occupy the same place at the same time. You were uniquely and wonderfully made. Born an original. Don't die a copy. God bless. Peace.